Welcome to Cohesion's Lessons from the Greats. We explore how great founders, business leaders, and successful companies think, decide, and grow, and turn their most valuable lessons into practical guidance for small business owners. Listeners, if you find value in this episode, please take a moment to subscribe on YouTube and follow us on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. It is completely free and takes just one tap. Your subscription helps us bring you new episodes every week and practical insight for small business community.
Picture a young woman standing in this tiny, cramped stable behind a house.
Right.
And she's just stirring a pot of face cream over this hissing gas stove. I mean, she has zero marketing budget.
None.
No formal business degree. Her makeshift lab basically smells like camphor and essential oils. And pretty much everyone in her life is telling her to pack it up and get a normal job.
Which is such a classic startup story, honestly.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But today, that exact same recipe, cooked on that exact same stove, is the foundation of a multi-billion-dollar global empire.
It really is the ultimate antidote to that modern myth of the overnight unicorn, We're so conditioned to think that successful empires require these sleek boardrooms or like millions in venture capital.
No, absolutely.
Instant scale.
Right. But this story proves that true longevity is often built on things anyone can cultivate, like resourcefulness, grit, and just a really deep understanding of human nature. Well, welcome to a very special SCORE Houston Deep Dive. We're incredibly excited to bring you this analysis today. And for those who might be new here, SCORE Houston offers completely free confidential mentoring for the small business community to really help entrepreneurs thrive.
It's an amazing resource.
It really is. And today we're aiming directly at that entrepreneurial spirit by exploring the astonishing rise of an absolute American icon, Estée Lauder.
Yeah, and for our deep dive today, we're pulling from two really phenomenal sources. The first is a series of excerpts from her own autobiography, which is called Estée, a success story. She actually published it when she was 77 years old.
Oh, wow. So she had a lot to look back on.
Exactly. And the second source is this in-depth transcript that just analyzes her relentless hustle, her unconventional sales tactics, and really just her sheer business acumen.
So our mission today is to decode her timeless business principles. If you're a listener tuning in right now, and especially if you're, say, trying to get a new organic skincare line off the ground in Houston, or maybe you're bootstrapping a boutique cosmetics brand.
Right, which is so competitive.
That is. And it's so easy to get paralyzed by today's endless digital options. You hear about SEO, social media algorithms, influencer campaigns.
It feels like a mountain you just can't climb.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But while the tools have evolved, the foundational principles of what Estée practiced, they remain identical. So we are going to show you how to apply her hustle, her sales mastery, and just her absolute obsession with quality to your own venture.
And the sources make it abundantly clear that her success wasn't just a stroke of luck. I mean, it was the result of a highly specific, repeatable approach to consumer psychology.
Right.
She just understood product value on a level that, honestly, most modern data analysts still struggle to capture.
Yeah, so let's start in that stable.
Yeah.
Because you simply cannot fake passion, right? True success really requires this unwavering belief in what you're selling. Long before the multi-million-dollar revenues, Estée was just a girl who was absolutely mesmerized by beauty.
Yeah, the sources describe how she would quietly watch her mother's meticulous beauty routines, like brushing her golden hair before she even opened her eyes in the morning.
But the true catalyst was a visit from her Uncle John, wasn't it?
Yeah, Uncle John, he was a skin specialist visiting from Hungary. And he's actually the one who set up that makeshift laboratory in the stable.
Oh, he started the stove cooking.
Exactly. And the psychological shift this caused in young Estée was just profound. She explicitly writes that having someone take her dreams seriously allowed her to value herself.
Wow.
It gave her permission to trust her instincts, and to recognize her own uniqueness. He was cooking creams over that gas stove, and she was just completely captivated.
She was so captivated that she actually used to joke that she held the world's record for face touching.
I love that line.
It's so good. She would practice applying these creams on her mother, her sister-in-law, literally anyone who would sit still long enough. She just wanted to touch people's faces and make them feel pretty.
And she carried that absolute obsession right into her adult life. There's this quote from her autobiography that, it should be framed on the wall at every single entrepreneur.
What was it?
She said, "Business is not something to be lightly tried on. Business marries you. You sleep with it, eat with it. If it isn't an act of love, it's merely work, not business.
Merely work, not business. That's powerful.
That distinction is the absolute bedrock of her philosophy. She points out that the mystical ingredient to long-term success isn't raw talent, and it certainly isn't an MBA.
Right.
It's persistence. It's this immovable, irrational stubbornness that just will not allow you to cave in when the market rejects you. And you only unlock that level of persistence if you genuinely, fiercely love what you are doing.
It makes me think of a master chef, at a Michelin star restaurant. You hear these stories of legendary chefs who will absolutely refuse to let a plate leave the kitchen unless it is absolutely flawless.
Oh, yeah. They'll throw the whole thing out.
Literally throw a beautifully plated dish straight into the trash and start completely over just because the reduction sauce is off by a fraction of a degree. And Estée was the exact same way with her cosmetics. If you don't fiercely love your harvest, as she called it, you can never expect your customers to love it.
And that obsession served a really specific strategic purpose, even if it was purely instinctual for her at the time. She was anchoring her business to universal human desires that just do not fluctuate with market trends.
Right.
Like we hear modern tech founders talk about building companies around things that won't change, like the desire for fast shipping or low prices. But Estée recognized that the desire for beauty transcends culture, class, intellect, and geography.
Yeah, she actually wrote that love has been planted, wars won, and empires built on beauty.
Because she fundamentally understood that beauty is inextricably linked to self-respect. When people feel they look fine, their confidence blossoms, the world seems to approve of them, and self-respect just becomes a little easier to maintain.
So she wasn't just selling a chemical mixture in a glass jar.
Not at all. She was selling a bottled form of confidence. She attached her life's work to a core psychological need.
But, having a great confidence-boosting product cooking on your kitchen stove is really only the first step of the journey.
Right, exactly.
How do you actually convince people to part with their hard-earned money when you are a complete unknown? I mean, you have no internet, no social media followers, zero advertising budget. You have a great product, but you're effectively invisible.
This brings us to the evolution of Estée, from an obsessed product creator to a master of human psychology and sales. She bridged that gap through the sheer, unadulterated power of the in-person demonstration.
Oh, the story of the Florence Morris beauty salon. That perfectly captures this.
It really does.
So Estée is getting her hair done, and the salon owner happens to ask how she keeps her skin looking so fresh. Estée immediately brings her jars of cream into the salon. But she doesn't do what most people do. She doesn't just drop off the jars, hand over a business card and say, hope you like them.
Right, because the owner says she's too busy and will try them later.
Exactly. But Estée refuses to leave it at that. She insists, saying, just let me show you how they work. Give me 5 minutes.
And that 5 minutes is the fulcrum of her entire empire. Claude Hopkins, who's considered one of the founding fathers of modern advertising, he wrote that no argument in the world can ever compare with one dramatic demonstration.
Oh, that makes so much sense.
Estée understood this in her bones. The moment she applied the products and handed that salon owner a mirror, the argument was over, the sale was made. That single respectful demonstration resulted in her very first business concession, a tiny permanent counter inside that salon.
And it was at that little salon counter that she invented a tactic that absolutely revolutionized the retail industry. She called it the gift with purchase.
Yeah.
She would take these little wax envelopes and carefully fill them with a scoop of face powder, or she would shave off a bit of lipstick and just give them away to the women visiting the salon. Her strict rule was that a woman would never leave her counter empty-handed. She even gave gifts without any purchase at all.
Which was unheard of at the time.
Wait, okay, I have to jump in here. Giving away your hard-earned product for free. If I'm putting myself in the shoes of a SCORE listener who is bootstrapping a small business right now with razor-thin margins and inventory they paid for out of pocket, I mean, giving away your product sounds like a fast track to bankruptcy. How does bleeding your own inventory make any financial sense?
Well, on a short-term spreadsheet, it looks like a terrible idea. But this requires a fundamental shift in how we value a customer. This is the underlying psychology of lifetime value, or LTV.
Okay.
Estée was never looking at a single transaction. She was looking to establish a lifelong relationship. So she wasn't losing money on those wax envelopes. She was buying long-term customer loyalty at an incredibly discounted rate.
I see.
She knew that if she could just get the product into their homes where they could use it at their leisure and see the tangible results they would return. The cognitive bias of reciprocity is incredibly strong. When someone gives us something of genuine value for free, we are psychologically compelled to return the favor.
A psychological compulsion to return the favor.
Yeah.
That is a really powerful way to look at a free sample.
Yeah, it's the difference between an expense and an investment. And there's a story in the sources that perfectly illustrates how deeply she believed in this. It takes place in San Antonio, Texas.
Right.
It's a blistering 101 degrees outside, and Estée is doing a personal appearance at this very elegant, high-end department store. A woman walks up to her counter, and the sources specifically note that this woman had no shoes and 2 gold teeth. She looked entirely out of place in this luxury environment.
And the local department store salespeople actually tapped Estée on the shoulder and whispered, don't waste your time. She isn't going to buy anything.
Right. They dismissed her entirely based on surface assumptions and short-term transactional thinking. But Estée whirled around and asked the salespeople, "Since when do you know how much money she has in her pocketbook?"
Wow.
Yeah. And Estée sat this barefoot woman down and gave her a full, luxurious, highly respectful makeover. Cleansing oil, cream pack, super rich all-purpose cream. She treated her like absolute royalty. They didn't even speak the same language, but they shared a profound moment of transformation when Estée finally handed her the mirror.
And the punchline to this story is just incredible. That barefoot woman bought 2 of everything Estée used on her face.
Yep.
And the very next day, her relatives came into the store and did the exact same thing.
The lesson for anyone building a business today is clear, right? Never patronize a customer, never underestimate their desire to feel valued, and always lead with overwhelming value. By treating every single person as a VIP, she built a foundation of loyalty that traditional advertising simply cannot buy.
Yeah, she essentially took the money her competitors were pouring into magazine ads and entrusted it directly into the hands and onto the faces of her consumers.
Exactly.
So that makes total sense for building a passionate local following. You secure this initial core group of fiercely loyal customers using these high-touch, respectful demonstrations. But you are still a small regional operation.
Right.
How does a bootstrap business scale that fierce loyalty into a national brand without the internet to make a product go viral?
Well, you master the art of guerrilla networking and leverage the most potent communication tool of the era, word of mouth. Estée had a very specific philosophy for this. She frequently noted that before television came along, you had the telephone, the telegraph, and what she proudly called tell a woman.
Tell a woman. I love that. It was the original social network.
It really was.
Her grassroots word-of-mouth campaign became so intense that it actually forced the hand of massive retailers. She had women calling Saks Fifth Avenue in New York by the hundreds, demanding Estée Lauder products. The demand became so overwhelming that the Saks buyer finally relented and gave her an $800 order just to quiet the phone lines.
And because of that pent-up, highly orchestrated word-of-mouth demand, that initial stock at Saks Fifth Avenue completely sold out in just 2 days.
Wow. 2 days.
But what's truly fascinating is her resourcefulness. Once she actually got inside those department stores, she refused to just stand behind her cosmetic counter waiting for foot traffic to wander by.
No, she was relentlessly proactive. She would leave her counter and walk over to the other departments like the dress department or the hat department.
Right.
She would hand out her free samples to those salespeople and say, when you sell a customer a new hat, mention that a free makeup session at the Estée Lauder counter would enhance it immeasurably. Or she would have a dress salesperson suggest a specific shade of her lipstick to perfectly match the fabric of a new dress.
It is so smart.
It's exactly like building a real-world affiliate marketing program. She took adjacent, non-competing businesses, or in this case, departments within the same store, and turned them into a passionate, unpaid sales force for her brand. I mean, if a modern SCORE listener runs a healthy snack company, this is like partnering with a local yoga studio to give samples to their instructors.
That is the perfect modern equivalent. It's the ultimate execution of one of her golden rules. Never underestimate the value of an ally. Networking for Estée was never about going to a stale corporate mixer and casually handing out business cards.
Right, which everyone hates anyway.
Exactly. It was about listening to people's needs and creating reciprocal relationships where everyone wins. The dress salesperson looks like a hero to their customer for offering a bespoke beauty tip. The customer gets a free makeover and feels great. And Estée acquires a new, highly qualified, loyal client. The psychology of value add for those allied salespeople is just brilliant.
And she applied this exact same reciprocal networking to the media, too. Whenever she traveled to open a new store, she made it her personal mission to visit every beauty editor of every magazine and newspaper in that town. She would give them makeovers, hand them generous samples, and genuinely try to make friends. She was constantly placing the product in the public eye through authentic human relationships rather than paid press releases.
Which is precisely how she engineered her international expansion, because, that grassroots hustle successfully broke her into the major U.S. markets. But to build a global empire, you eventually have to take visionary leaps.
Right.
And taking those leaps requires trusting your own instincts over conventional industry wisdom.
The London expansion is an absolute masterclass in this. She decided she wanted her products in Harrods, the finest department store in London. She knew that if she got into Harrods, the rest of the European market would fall in line. But the Harrods buyer repeatedly rejected her. They told her there was no space and absolutely no demand for her unknown American brand. Most people would just pack up and go home.
But she understood the power dynamics between retail buyers and the media. She bypassed the buyer completely and went straight to the beauty editors in London, specifically targeting Harper's Bazaar.
Freaky.
Very. She gave them the signature Estée Lauder treatment, got them to fall in love with the product, and asked them to write a piece about it. And when the editor pointed out that the products weren't actually available for purchase anywhere in London, Estée simply said, "That's fine. Just write that they're coming soon."
She literally manufactured a wave of artificial demand.
Yes.
Women read those articles, felt the FOMO, that fear of missing out on this exclusive new American beauty trend, and marched into Harrods demanding Estée Lauder. She completely forced the buyer's hand. It took 3 trips, but she finally secured her counter space.
It's a brilliant use of leverage. But perhaps her most visionary leap, the one that fundamentally transformed the financial scale of her company, was a product called Youth Dew. And this pivot required a deep sociological understanding of cultural behavior.
Okay, so what was the cultural landscape like for perfume at that time? Because today, people buy fragrances for themselves all the time.
Right, but in the 1950s, the cultural norms were entirely different. Perfume was a very high-margin, lucrative product, but there was this massive cultural roadblock. Women simply did not buy expensive perfume for themselves. Really, no, it was considered a luxury strictly reserved for gifting. A woman waited for her husband or boyfriend to buy it for her for birthday or an anniversary.
So women were literally waiting for a yearly milestone just to get a single bottle of fragrance.
Exactly. And the entire cosmetics industry just accepted this as an unchangeable law of nature. But Estée asked a crucial, disruptive question. How can I change consumer behavior and get women to buy their own fragrance? Her solution was brilliantly simple in its reframing. She didn't sell it as perfume. She formulated a bath oil that doubled as a skin perfume, and she called it Youth Dew.
Because it was perfectly acceptable for a woman to buy herself bath oil. It reframed the purchase from a guilty luxury into a daily hygiene essential. So women started pouring it by the bottle into their bath water every single day, instead of tentatively applying a single drop behind their ear once a month.
By completely reframing the category, she unlocked an entirely new purchasing behavior. She removed the psychological friction of guilt, and the numbers and the sources are just staggering. In 1953, Youth Dew did about $50,000 in sales. By 1984, that single reframed product line was generating over $150 million a year.
Okay, I have to jump in here with a reality check for the modern era. Estée relied heavily on what she called her Lauder inner voice. She famously resisted the massive conglomerate buyout craze of the 1970s because her gut told her to stay independent. She talked about visualizing success, like literally picturing the deal being made in her mind before she walked into a room.
Right.
But in today's world of big data, A/B testing, focus groups, constant analytics, isn't it incredibly dangerous for a score entrepreneur to just rely on gut feelings and visualization? Isn't that just a recipe for disaster?
It's a very fair critique, and it's a trap many modern entrepreneurs fall into, assuming that intuition is just a mystical blind guess. But if we look closely at the sources, Estée's inner voice was not magic. It was a highly calibrated intuition earned through decades of relentless hands-on trial and error.
So she wasn't just sitting in a boardroom meditating on success.
Not at all. She explicitly notes that this inner voice grows clearer and louder with each success and each observed failure. Think about her data collection method. She had physically touched tens of thousands of faces.
A world record.
Exactly. She had spent weeks standing in the guest bathrooms of fancy dinner parties just to see which jar colors looked best against high-end wallpaper. She worked 7 days a week, and then she went out networking 5 nights a week.
Wait, she went out networking 5 nights a week on top of working every day.
Yes, specifically to stay in direct contact with the people who bought and sold her cosmetics. So when she had a visceral reaction or a gut feeling about a business deal, it was actually her brain processing millions of hyper-specific frontline data points she had gathered personally over decades.
That makes sense.
She visualized success, yes, but she combined that mental image with a work ethic that bordered on superhuman. As she put it, first comes the shy wish. Then you must have the heart to have the dream. Then you work. Work.
So her intuition was essentially a human-powered algorithm. It was big data, just collected face-to-face over 30 years. That makes so much more sense than just trusting a random hunch. It really brings us full circle on this incredible journey.
It really does.
When you look back at it, from a young girl mesmerized by her mother's hairbrush, to mixing camphor over a gas stove in a stable, to commanding a global cosmetic empire, the through line of relentless, value-driven work is just undeniable.
It's a profound testament to the fact that while the landscape and tools of business constantly evolve, the fundamental human element does not. We still crave connection, we still respond to generosity, and we still want to feel valued.
And to you, our listener, whether you are launching a new skincare line, opening a local bakery, or trying to find your footing in any small business, the platforms might look completely different today. You have e-commerce storefronts and social media analytics, but the core principles Estée mastered are still your absolute best tools for growth.
Supreme product quality that you are personally obsessed with. The power of a dramatic, value-led demonstration that proves your worth instantly. And an unwavering commitment to treating every single customer, regardless of how they look or what they are wearing, with such respect that you secure their loyalty for a lifetime.
She summarized her drive perfectly. She said, "Serenity is pleasant, but it lacks the ecstasy of achievement. Chasing that ecstasy of achievement and building your own American dream is intensely difficult work. But you do not have to do it alone. Remember to reach out to SCORE Houston. Take advantage of their free mentoring programs for the small business community. Let their seasoned experts help you navigate your own path from your proverbial gas stove to your ultimate vision of success."
It's all about finding those allies who can help you refine your vision and hold you accountable.
We want to leave you with a final thought to mull over today as you get back to building your business. We spend so much time today optimizing digital funnels and trying to automate our customer service with chatbots to save time. But what if the opposite is actually true? What if, in a world where everything is automated, digital, and hyper-efficient, Estée's high-touch, human-to-human connection becomes the ultimate scarcity? As AI takes over the transactional side of business, taking the time to physically demonstrate your value, look a customer in the eye, and make them feel truly seen might just become the ultimate, irreplaceable luxury of the future. Something to think about.
Before we wrap up, a quick favor. If you find this podcast valuable, please hit subscribe on YouTube and follow us on Apple Podcast or Spotify. It is free. Just takes a second and helps us continue bringing you weekly episodes designed to support your business journey.